be alive in this land of ours. Good to drive in this land of ours.
Hello, Canada hockey fans in the United States.
The Hockey Time Machine.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hockey Time Machine. I'm Glenn Dreyfus. Guyle Fielder, Seattle's greatest hockey player, and a member of one of pro hockey's most exclusive clubs. We're going to play an interview now recorded with Guyle at his home in Arizona. Todd Leiweke, president of the Seattle Kraken, said this about our next guest. Guyle was the indisputable headliner for Seattle's golden era of hockey. Guyle, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. I appreciate it.
Hey, it's my pleasure.
So, Guyle, you were in a very select club. The members are Gordie Howe, Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier, Jaromir Jagr, and Guyle Fielder. What do those five hockey players have in common?
Well, I think they're all players that have scored over 2,000 points.
That's quite a club.
Yes, it is. And although I like to state that I think that I was the first one to score the 2,000 points. The rest of them came up later.
Indeed, you were. And your career numbers are staggering. 22 years, 1,496 pro games played, plus another 116 in the playoffs, 463 goals, 1,574 assists, 2,037 total points. When did you start to become aware that you were putting up such enormous numbers?
Well, it was probably my last year in Seattle, and then I played 2.5, 3 years after that in Salt Lake City and Portland. But also, I like to mention that I think that I was the only American-born hockey player that has scored over 2,000 points also.
What was the secret of staying healthy enough to play 22 years? And also, what was the secret to having the desire to play that long?
Well, I didn't know anything else. I just love to play hockey, and I was very fortunate to play on a lot of good teams with a lot of good players. It's a team sport, and I was just trying to do the best of my ability at the time.
And another secret to your longevity was undoubtedly the big cigars, right?
Well, that, and I was very fortunate. I never had a weight problem my whole career, so that helped a lot also.
What's that like? Not having a weight problem?
Well, I don't know now because I've put it on since I retired, I'll tell you that.
Growing up in Saskatchewan youth hockey, you had a buddy who was a goalie who turned out to be a pretty good player too. Whatever happened to him?
You mean Glenn Hall?
Right.
Well, he went on to the National League, and he had many incredible years up there, and I think he won a few Stanley Cups. But I played Pee Wee against Glenn, and we made a road trip over to Humboldt where he lived, and I think I stayed with him and his family. And we got to know one another way back then. But since he went to the National League, although he did play in the Western League in Edmonton, I believe, a year or two. But then he went to the National League, and we kind of lost contact. But he does live in Edmonton, I believe, somewhere on a farm or a ranch, something like that.
You've probably heard that much later, Glenn Hall compared you to another pretty good hockey player.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, he said, when asked, who does Wayne Gretzky remind you of? He said, Guyle Fielder.
Really? Well, I'd like to talk to Glenn and give him a compliment. Tell him thank you for that. That's very, very nice.
It's a compliment to Wayne, too.
You bet.
Now, here's something you said about your teenage years. When I was 14 or 15, the principal said I was never going to get out of grade 8, that I should forget about the books and go play hockey for a living. And that suited me just fine. Now, first of all, that's a little bit of a harsh assessment from a school principal, isn't it?
Well, no, he was he was a great principal for the public school, because he insisted we always played sports on recess, and then July the 1st, we always had a big day with all kinds of sports, and he almost insisted you try and play the one sport or another just to see whether you liked it or not. So I tried them all. I played baseball and I played hockey. And I ended up, a fellow that used to coach our senior team there, Punch Tabac, I believe was his name, and I used to watch him. He was a very good hockey player, but he would never shoot the puck. He'd always be stick handling and going around and deke the goalie out and all that, and I kind of fancied my style after him, but it paid off all right, but I wish I'd have shot more. I didn't have a very good shot, but anyway, it turned out to be the best. I had a long and prosperous career.
You were a standout as far back as your junior days with Lethbridge in 1949-50, 47 goals, 58 assists, and the Western Canadian Major Junior League Most Valuable Player. Now, I know we're going way, way back, so maybe this isn't fair, but what do you remember about your junior days?
Well, I had 4 years of junior. I played 2 years in Prince Albert, and then I ended up my last 2 years in Lethbridge. And each league was each team was in a different league, and the advanced one was in Lethbridge my last 2 years of junior. And I just played the game to the best of my ability, and fortunately, I played with some good teammates and whatnot. And we had a very good general manager there, Ed Bruchet. He was a great guy, and he took very good care of me. And I enjoyed my last 2 years in Lethbridge.
The co-author of your book, Jim Van Tour, said, quote, "He came to the pro ranks with a bad boy reputation." Now, why would he say that?
Well, you know how rumors get started. And I used to like to have my beer like everybody else, but I guess I went in the wrong bars or whatever, and it was seen in there, and I had a beer or two, and I left. But once a rumor gets started, it expand on it, and it gets worse as it goes along. I didn't really appreciate that, but nobody paid any attention to me personally wise, so I got stuck with it.
Did it have anything to do with the fact that when you didn't agree with a coach or someone else, you would say so and give your reasons, but players weren't supposed to express opinions?
Well, yes, one example was my first year in Lethbridge. The coach, Scotty Monroe, I believe at that time, we were on the ice and we were having line rushes. And he says to the centerman, he says, "Now we're going to take the line rushes and against two defensemen and the goalie." And he says, "You take it across the blue line and shoot it in, and the wingers will go get it." So I did that. I went down there, but I didn't shoot it in. And I stick handled around, made a play. One of my wingers, he went in and scored. I came back, and he just gave me hell, and he hauled off with his glove on, fortunately, and punched me in the face and knocked me on my butt. I said, "Well, I don't need this crap." So I went back to Prince Albert. But that was the only time that I had any discrepancies against any coaches or whatever. I just didn't. I don't like that dump and chase. I got the puck. If you want it, come and get it.
Here's a neat trick you pulled. You were named Rookie of the Year 2 years in a row, in 1951 in the Pacific Coast League and in 1952 in the American League. So go back and tell us, why was it more common for players to switch teams and leagues back then?
Well, at that time, I belonged to the Chicago Blackhawks, so you go where they tell you to go. Or no, I'm sorry. The first year I was in New Westminster, Kenny McKenzie bought me from Chicago, and I played my first year there. And then I believe Detroit picked me up and sent me and a few other guys. Well, I ended up actually in Edmonton, but I didn't get along with Mr. Poyle, so he sent me to St. Louis, and that's how it came about.
When you say you didn't see eye to eye with him, what was that about?
Where, in Edmonton?
With Bud Poyle.
Yeah, well, we had a big team meeting, and he says, now, you guys, I know you're going to have your beers and whatnot. He says, don't be out hanging around in the main bars. Go away and hide and have your beer. So unfortunately, that was the very start of the year, and some friends of mine from my hometown came into town to see me play and watch games. And we were in our own room having our beers and whatnot, but apparently he was right next door. And so he heard all the noise and the stuff that went on. And so a day or two later, I was on my way to St. Louis.
You played in the NHL on 4 separate occasions for 15 games total. In 50-51, 3 games with Chicago. In 52-53, 4 playoff games with Detroit. In 53-54, 2 playoff games with Boston. And finally, in 57-58, half a dozen games back with the Red Wings.
And it's Fielder of Detroit going back of his own net. He's a newcomer from Western Canada, the leading scorer in the Western Hockey League. Fielder is at center ice for Detroit with Howe, the big gun for Detroit, and Wilson on the left wing. Fielder passed to Howe in front there, but he backhanded a pass, and the Leafs are floundering a bit under pressure. Here's Rival getting a chance. He scores! A shot from the right side.
Do you feel, looking back on it, like you ever actually got a fair shot?
Well, to be truthful, I don't. I'll tell you, the best shot I had was in 57 with Detroit when we had our line of Ray Konasowicz and Val Fontaine, and we had a great season in Seattle, and we all belonged to Detroit, and we went up to work out in training camp and whatnot, but I never got to play with those guys. I played with Howe and Johnny Wilson, and I went through training camp and a couple of exhibition games and a few regular season games, and I just didn't realize the chance that I had or the opportunity that I had in Detroit. I don't think I give it my best effort.
Well, somebody who agrees that you deserved more of a shot was Don Cherry, who wrote this: I'm often asked, in all your career in the minor leagues, what player should have been in the NHL? And his answer, again quoting, the one guy who got the biggest shaft was a nifty player called Guyle Fielder. So what I have read is that the major league clubs didn't necessarily know how to exploit your skills.
Well, that's a possibility, but back then, you know, there was only 6 teams in the National League, and it was a pretty tough lineup to crack. If you didn't, when you had your chance, if you didn't make the best of it and didn't show what you might be able to do, you weren't around very long. So they'd ship you back to the minors like they did with me. I just blame it on myself. I just didn't realize the opportunity that I had, because I loved hockey and I just loved to play. And I started sitting on the bench in Detroit after the 6 games, and I told Jack, I said, listen, I came here to play hockey, not sit on the bench. I said, if you're not going to play me, please get rid of me, send me back to Seattle or wherever, because anybody can sit on the bench, and I just love to play. So I wanted to give it my best shot, and it didn't work, apparently.
You're talking about Detroit boss Jack Adams.
Right.
And you had a couple of conversations with him.
Yeah, I went in before that, and I asked Jack to get rid of me, and he says, "No, listen, stick around for a while. I'll give you a $500 raise." Now I'm making $8,000. I wasn't there for the money. I mean, I was, but I didn't go in to get a raise. I just wanted to play hockey. But it ended up, I went in the second time, and that's when I told him that if I'm not going to play or sit on the bench, please just get rid of me. So 2 days later, I was on my way to Seattle.
Your first stint in Detroit, your line mates were Gordie Howe and Ted Lindsay. And wasn't the problem that there's only one puck and you really needed more than one?
Oh, I don't know how to answer that. But I don't know that I ever played with Ted Lindsay. I think he was gone. But anyway, that's
In the second stint he was, but the first time you were in Detroit.
Yeah, maybe that. Sid Abel was already retired then. Must have been.
You played in the Western Hockey League in Seattle, which this is interesting. You played in one city, but for three different teams. First the Bombers, then they became the Americans, and finally the Totems. So let's start with this. This was between 1953 and 1969. What do you remember about the fan support in the 50s and 60s for your Seattle teams?
Well, in the early 50s, it was pretty slim. We didn't have a very big arena at that time in Seattle, and we probably got 3,500, 4,000 people, which wasn't a lot of people back then, but the salaries weren't that great either. But as we progressively went on and we won a championship in 58, 59, that kind of helped to perk up the fans in Seattle, and they started coming out. And then we moved into the Coliseum in 62, I believe it was, right after the World's Fair. And then we started getting a little more successful and winning some games, and we won 2 more championships. And once Seattle, if they like you, and as us in the sports, it don't matter which sport it is, they'll support you. And they're the greatest hockey fans I ever played for in my life.
You mentioned 1959, and that was your first championship season with the Totems. What are your memories of that team and winning a championship?
Oh boy, you're checking my memory now.
Well, that's okay. I don't remember what I had for breakfast, so.
Well, it seems to me in that season we just barely made the playoffs, and we went along. We beat, I forget who it was, but in the finals we beat Calgary, and they were the biggest, strongest team. They walked away with the league championship all together. But we met them in the playoffs, and we beat them 4 straight, and it was just a combination of the type of players we had. There was only 15 players, I believe, at that time. We had 3 lines and 4 defensemen and a goalie. And if that adds up to 15, it should be pretty close. But we just all gelled together at the time, and things just went right, and we beat them quite handily. Great bunch of guys.
A year earlier in 1958, Punch Imlach tried to persuade you to join his Maple Leafs. What happened there?
Well, Punch came out to Seattle, and we sat down and talked for a couple hours, and he wanted me to go to Toronto for a tryout. And I said, well, listen, Punch, I'm just in the midst of being an apprentice for an electrician, and I just got started at this, and I'd like to have something to do when my career is over. Well, he says, will you come on to Toronto and we'll work things out? I'll give you a 2-way contract. I said, wait a minute. No, I've been to the American League once, and I like it on the West Coast. And if I don't have a 1-way contract for Toronto, I'm sorry, I'll have to turn you down. So that's the way it happened.
Okay. Now, if I may embarrass you a little bit, 9 times you won the WHL scoring title with the Totems, including 4 straight between 1957 and 1960, and you were a 6-time league MVP. So here's another first that I found amusing. The Totems held a Guyle Fielder night, but that was in 1960, and you'd play another dozen years. So why did they honor you with a night in 1960 when you weren't even close to retiring?
Well, I must have made a good impression on them, I guess. I don't really know the answer to that. But yes, they did. They gave me a night. And they also gave Rudy Fillion, who was just before me, and I played with Rudy. But they gave him a night also in Seattle. We were the only 2 players that, in hockey that I know of, ever got 2 nights awarded to them. They sent me to Hawaii for 2 weeks, and they gave me a bunch of other gifts, a golf cart and fishing rods and a movie camera, a whole bunch of good stuff. Yep.
That's pretty good. Now, in 1963, in Vancouver, a team of WHL All-Stars played against the Maple Leafs in Vancouver. Do you recall playing in that game?
Oh, vaguely, yes.
Well, a sports writer said this about you. And remember, the Leafs were the defending Stanley Cup champs at the time, but the sports writer observed that you were the best player on the ice, and the Leafs had a number of future Hall of Famers. Did you ever feel like games like that were validation for you?
Oh, I don't know about that. I just enjoyed playing against them because I wanted to see how I'd fare against them with the team that I played with, not a bunch of National Leaguers. And we showed a pretty good situation, I guess, but I don't really remember the whole situation about that, but that was a long time ago. But I know we played against Detroit and Chicago and Toronto in different exhibition games and whatnot, and I think we did beat Chicago or somebody at one time.
Then in 1966-67, a season people have called the Guyle Fielder Grand Slam. You were an all-star, again the scoring champion, were named WHL Most Valuable Player, and then the cherry on the sundae, the award for Most Gentlemanly Player as well. What a season. Tell me about it.
Well, it's just one of those things that turned out good for me. I always had some good teams to play with and some good wingers, and I had a good year. I don't know, I guess I won the scoring. I must have won the scoring, but that's the first in hockey, I believe, winning the Grand Slam, as far as I know, in any league. And I'm very impressed with that. And they have the trophy in the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto.
And the Totems captured the Lester Patrick Trophy. As you mentioned, you were league champions with the Totems 3 times.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the Western Hockey League champions. It's been a great season.
That year, 66-67, was the second time, and you would go on to win back-to-back titles. Were the Totems of that era a dominant team in the league?
Well, when Keith Allen retired and Bill McFarland took over as coach and general manager, he brought in some players that he figured we needed, some big, strong, tough defensemen. And we had a pretty good lineup of forwards, and we all seemed to gel pretty good. So I'll never forget the first series we played, or not the first series, but the last one we played in Seattle. We played against Portland, which was our nemesis all year long, and everybody else's too. We played, I think it was the first 2 games we played in Seattle. We lost the first game. No, we won the first game, just squeaked by. But the second game, we were down 6-3 going into the third period, and we ended up winning it 7-6 in overtime. That's the greatest game I ever played in my life. And fortunately, I got the game-winning goal. But then we went on to beat them 4 straight, and then the following year, the same thing more or less happened again. But Bill McFarland was responsible for that because he knew his hockey players, and he knew we were still affiliated with Detroit. So he talked to them naturally and got some players that were available, and they happened to work out just right.
3 times you won the Fred Hume Award, which is the WHL version of what the NHL calls the Lady Byng for gentlemanly play. How could you be so prolific offensively without being offensive in other ways?
Well, I was very fortunate. Like I said, I never had a weight problem, and I was always in good shape, and I had a good set of legs. And I didn't shoot the puck in the corners. I always tried to have the puck, and I controlled the game more or less. And nobody ever. I went in the corners like anybody else, but you don't go in first. You go in even with them. So I come out about the same. I never get hurt or whatever. So that's best way I can explain it, I guess.
Opponents, though, would get aggressive trying to slow you down, but it usually didn't work. In fact, Totem's executive Murray Costello observed this: the more you ran at him, the better he got. Did chippy play motivate you?
No, it scared the hell out of me. I didn't know whether I was going to get a good hit one night or not, but I prided myself in being in, like I said, good shape, and I was very elusive, and I had good peripheral vision, which you might say you can see to the sides and forward naturally. And I was fortunate. I was very agile, and I could get out of the way of most checks. But I did get hit a few times, but nothing real serious that I broke a leg or anything.
Costello also said you were actually somewhat shy and introverted off the ice, at least in the beginning. What was it about lacing up the skates that made you, in Costello's words, completely in charge?
Well, I don't know. When I put the uniform on, I had a job to do, I guess, and I just went out and did the best I could possibly do to help the team. And like I said, I was always in good shape. So, mind you, I did get hit a few times, but nothing real serious. But a lot of two-handers and stuff like that. I remember one year in the playoffs, we were playing against Victoria, I believe. And there was this one guy that I played against through my junior years and in pro, Bill Chevetz. So I had to have casts put on from my wrist up to my elbow on both arms because he gave me these two-handers and never call a penalty. So that's the one time that I do remember getting a little extra padding to try to protect my arms.
Your co-author, Van Tour, who's a hockey historian, also wrote, as much as we loved our hometown teams, Fielder transcended hometown loyalties. And one example I saw, there's a newspaper ad for an Edmonton Flyers home game against your Seattle Americans at the time. And it says in big type, Guyle Fielder is coming to town. So were you aware you were selling tickets all over the WHL?
No, I didn't realize that. But what helped me there in Edmonton, they had the old rink. It had an extra big ice surface, so I had more room to work, and I really loved playing there, and I seemed to play pretty well there most of the time. So I loved going there.
Were there varying rink sizes around the league?
Oh, yes. The regular size, I believe, is 200 by 85, and I think that was about 210 or 15 long and probably 85 wide, but I had that extra length to maneuver around behind the net. You could almost play a game behind the net. There's so much room in there.
Yeah, I remember a certain 99, even with the 200 by 85, thought standing behind the net was a pretty good strategy.
Yeah, right.
Whenever we went into Edmonton, Guyle Fielder said, we got in early in the morning. I headed directly for the pool hall right off the train. Tell me about that.
Oh, I loved going there. They had a nice billiard room, and I loved to play pool, and they always had some real good money games. So as soon as I got off the train, I headed right to the pool room, excuse me, and played pool all day. Come 6 o'clock, I'd grab a cab and a hot dog and go to the rink and play, and then go right back to the pool room after the game and play more. Yeah, true story.
So actually, the hockey game interrupted what you were really trying to get done, which is play pool.
Well, you could say that, I guess, but I love both of them. But hockey was my main sport.
So you were good with a hockey stick, good with a pool cue. So it stands to reason you were also good with a golf club, right?
Oh yes, that was probably my third favorite sport. But yes, I loved golf. I played a lot of golf. You bet.
How many holes in one?
5, and about 7 or 8 championships. In fact, I won the club championship in Broadmoor in Portland 7 years in a row. But that's going back a few years ago.
One of your coaches, Tom McVie, called you, quote, the most talented forward I've ever seen. And next to Bobby Orr, the best player by a country mile. And Don Cherry put it this way: he was a magician with the puck. He could fool you a dozen ways. Where did that skill come from? And was it natural? What did you work on? How did you become the magician that you ended up being?
Well, it must have been through my hard work at practice in Nipawin when I followed that punch to back. You know, like I said, he did that, stick handled and made plays and whatnot. And I prided myself in making plays because, like I said earlier, I don't have a very good shot. I'd always shoot the puck about glove high, and they'd catch them all the time. And sometimes I'd try to deke the goalie, but you can't always do that. So it's when it gets time to shoot, you shoot. But so I just worked hard at maneuvering my body and getting out of the way and making plays. I just love to make a nice play and the guy goes in and scores. I like to see that kind of. I wish they still do that today, because right now I don't mean to talk the game down, but it's I love hockey, but it's certainly changed, and the finesse of the game is gone. It's too bad.
One of your roommates with the Totems, Jim Powers, gave you a nice compliment, a different kind of compliment. He said that teammates, quote, drew inner strength, unquote, from you. Were you aware of that? And what do you think Jim was talking about when he said they drew inner strength from you?
Well, the only thing I can think of was my hard work ethic. I worked just as hard in practice as I did in games, and they, I guess, kind of took off from that. I don't really know the other reasons, but I'm happy to hear that. Jumbo is a good friend and an old winger of mine, but we've been friends for years, and he still lives in the Seattle area. We talk still once in a while, and I'm proud to and happy to hear that from Jumbo.
Your hockey nickname was, is this true, Tom?
Exactly.
Okay.
You
now,
know how that came?
Tom's a fine name, but
You know,
as nicknames go, not a lot of pizzazz there, Guyle.
well, you want to know how I got it?
Yeah.
In 1953-54, we were playing in Seattle, and there's a guy by the name of Vic Laufendahl. He was a defenseman, and he'd always play against me in practice. And, practice, you're always having scrimmages and whatnot. So somebody asked him one time, or no, he told me, he said, I think I'm going to start calling you Tom Fool. And I said, well, why is that? Well, he says, there's a racehorse named Tom, and Tom Fool, and I'm going to call you the same thing because it'd be damned if I can catch you. So that as it went on through the years, they always called me Tom Poole. Then it got broke down to just Tom, and everybody called me Tom after that. True story.
Since you are certainly nobody's fool, a Seattle Times sports writer, Hy Zimmerman, bestowed a better nickname on you, Golden Guyle. And Zimmerman also wrote, a Zamboni would get 20 goals playing with Fielder. How much fun did you have over your career setting up teammates for goals?
Well, like I told you earlier, I prided myself in making plays, and once in a while I'd shoot, and I got a few goals, but I like to see different plays and, stick handle around somebody or deke them or whatever you might have to do to make a play. And that's just what I did. And I was fortunate to get away with it all those years.
Having said that about your prowess as a setup man, once in Vancouver, you read in advance of a game a newspaper story that said goal scoring was your weakness. What happened that night?
Well, excuse me. We went into Vancouver, and I guess, like you said, there was an article in the paper the day before, something about me not scoring any goals. I get all my points with assists. So we went into Vancouver that night, and we played against them, and Gump Worsley was in the net, and I scored 4 goals, and I think we won the game 4-3 or 4-0, something like that. And so I never got another, but I didn't know anything about the article, believe me. So, but it just turned out that way.
Come on. You didn't know? No one told you?
No, really, they didn't. No.
Okay. Being born in Idaho, as you mentioned, in 2020, you were nominated for the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame. And Kraken president Todd Leiweke, who we mentioned earlier, is the one who nominated you. And here's what Todd said on the application. Guyle's exciting style of play captured fans' imaginations and ignited passion for our sport here in Seattle and the Pacific Northwest. How much of a link, Guyle, do you feel to Seattle's new NHL team?
I don't know. I just wish them a lot of success and all the best to them. And they're going to have their great fans, like I said. And I'd like to have been there for the first game. There was a rumor going around that they was going to have me over to drop the puck in the first game, but somebody started this rumor when the franchise first started, or when they knew they were getting a franchise. And it never came about, and I was a little disappointed in that respect. But I understand you're going to the National League, and I was just a minor leaguer, so they didn't take much about that because I was a minor leaguer. But other than that, I wish them all the best, and I thank Todd for those kind words.
Todd also called you a founding father on skates who helped make Seattle a hockey town. And at the end of each season, I understand, one Kraken player is going to receive the Guyle Fielder Award each year for sportsmanship and leadership. It is nice to be remembered that way, at least.
Oh, for sure. They also have a locker room with all my old equipment on and the picture and everything about from the old days, but they're going to be there forever. And I won the scoring race 9 times, and I had a great big trophy about 4 feet tall, and I think it's going to be displayed somewhere in the new arena also.
I want to close our time together, which I thank you very much for taking the time. Is your friend Betty still nearby?
Yes.
All right. Well, have her come sit next to you. I'd like to talk to her for a second. This wouldn't have been possible without Betty.
You got that right. She's a smart lady.
She's your winger. Now, Betty, I want to ask you, we talked earlier about Gyle's abilities with a pool cue. And tell me about the first time you met him. You had some friends who said you should go up to and talk to him, right? And that was in the pool hall at your retirement community?
Yes, I moved down here, and at that time my late husband was very sick and he passed away. And at that time, I decided I really loved pool and I wanted to play pool. So the women I played with said, "Well, you know, that's Guyle Fielder over there. He's a really good pool player." And I go, "Who's he?" But anyway, we decided, and I talked with him, and we decided that he cleaned tables every Saturday morning to get pool tables cleaned up. He said, "Well, if you come down Saturday morning while I'm cleaning pool tables, I'll teach you how to play pool." And he did a very good job. That's how we met.
Well, I heard the story just a touch differently. Apparently, people told you he used to be a hockey player.
Well, yes, that's true.
And do you remember what you said?
I said I didn't care. I didn't know anything about hockey. And I'm from Minnesota with the North Stars. But I never watched hockey until I met him. That's the truth.
Okay. Now tell me one more truth. Is he a hustler, or does he let other people win now and then?
He'll win anytime he can. He won't give anybody any. He won't even let me win just to let me win. You have to play. No, he doesn't. He likes to win, and he's not really a hustler. He just plays to the best of his ability.
Okay, but does anybody play for money?
Oh, he plays for money every day.
Why are they still playing with him?
Well, he plays snooker, and then he plays three cushion billiards. And they play for the snooker, they play for $1, and the three cushion, they play for a quarter. So it's not high stakes, but they play for money. It makes it more interesting. But I don't play those two games. I only play 8-ball and 9-ball.
And how good are you now?
Well, with his help, I'm pretty good.
Guyle, do you ever wish you'd tried being Willie Mosconi or Minnesota Fats instead of a pro hockey player?
No, but I did play an exhibition game against Willie Mosconi in Seattle back in the late 50s, I guess it was, somewhere in there. And I enjoyed it. But pool wasn't all that popular back in those days, but it certainly is now.
All right. Well, Guyle and Betty, you have been wonderful about sharing your time with us, and Guyle, your memories, and Betty, the technical expertise to make this all happen. I thank you both so much for sharing your time with us, and we hope to see you up here again in Seattle so we can celebrate again the talents of Guyle Fielder. Thank you both so much.
Great. Sounds good. Nice talking with you too, sir.
The great Guyle Fielder. Thanks to him and to you for sticking with us. Happy Festivus and good night.